The rain fell in steady sheets that Thursday evening, painting the town in a blur of silver streaks and distorted light. Emily pulled her jacket tight around her as she hurried toward the bus stop, her shoes splashing through puddles on the uneven sidewalk. Her body ached from another double shift at the diner. Grease clung to her clothes, the faint scent of coffee still in her hair. All she wanted was to get home, sink into a hot shower, and crawl into bed. The bus arrived with a loud hiss of brakes, its headlights cutting through the rain. Emily climbed aboard, grateful for the dry warmth. She scanned the nearly empty rows. An elderly man sat near the front, hunched over a newspaper. A young mother rocked her child gently against her chest, trying to soothe its soft whimpers. And in the back, half hidden by the dim light, sat a man in a grey hoodie. His hood was pulled low, shadowing his face so completely Emily couldn't make out a single feature. She thought nothing of it at first and chose a seat midway down the aisle, setting her bag on her lap. The bus lurched forward, wipers beating a steady rhythm as raindrops trickled across the windows. The neon glow of storefronts smeared into watery shapes outside. Emily pulled out her phone and scrolled absent-mindedly through her messages. That's when she felt it. Eyes watching her. She glanced up quickly. The man in the hoodie was staring, not glancing, not idly looking around, but staring directly at her. His head tilted slightly, his gaze unwavering. Emily's stomach tightened. She quickly dropped her eyes back to her phone, pretending not to notice. Stop after stop passed, and one by one, the passengers trickled off. The young mother stood with her baby and exited. A few blocks later, the elderly man folded his newspaper and stepped into the night. And then it was just Emily and the hooded man. Her chest tightened. The bus seemed too quiet now, the hum of the engine almost deafening in the stillness. She risked another glance upward. His head was still turned in her direction. The unease in her stomach grew heavier with each passing second. She tried to remind herself that she was imagining things. People stared sometimes. Maybe he was just lost in thought. Maybe he wasn't even looking at her. But deep down she knew, she could feel it. Then he moved. Slowly, deliberately, the man rose from his seat and walked down the aisle. Emily's breath hitched. Her fingers tightened around her bag. She considered pulling the cord to request a stop, to bolt the moment the doors opened. But before she could act, he lowered himself into the seat directly across from her. The space between them felt unbearably small. Emily stared at the floor, her pulse hammering in her throat. When he spoke, his voice was low, steady, and unsettlingly calm. "Don't get off at your stop tonight." Emily's head snapped up, her eyes wide. "Excuse me," she whispered, though her voice cracked with fear. The man leaned forward slightly, his hood still concealing much of his face. "Whatever you do," he said softly, "don't get off at your usual stop." Emily's skin prickled. Her heart thundered so loudly she was sure he could hear it. "What kind of joke is this?" she asked, forcing a brittle laugh. "Because it's not funny." The man shook his head. His eyes, shadowed beneath the hood, locked onto hers. There was no smirk, no menace in his tone, only a strange, heavy seriousness. "I'm not joking," he said. "You'll be in danger if you get off there tonight." Emily's thoughts spun wildly. Was he threatening her? Was this some twisted attempt to scare her? She glanced at the driver, but he seemed oblivious, focused on the road ahead. The bus slowed, the air brakes hissed. Her heart sank. It was her stop. The glowing street lamp outside illuminated the familiar corner store, the row of shops she passed every night. This was her routine, her path, her safe return home. Her legs tensed. All she had to do was stand, step off the bus, and walk 2 short blocks. She could be home in minutes. "Please," the man urged softly, his voice almost pleading now, "don't get off." The doors swung open with a mechanical groan. Emily's pulse raced. She clutched her bag, frozen. Every rational thought told her to ignore him, to step off into the night like she always did. But something in the intensity of his voice, in the strange sincerity in his eyes, made her hesitate. Her breath caught, her feet felt glued to the floor. And then, at the very last second, she sank back into her seat. The doors shut, the bus pulled away. Emily stared straight ahead, her hands trembling in her lap. She couldn't bring herself to look at the man again, her heart hammered with every passing block. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the man rose from his seat. He walked to the front, pressed the cord, and stepped off the bus. He didn't look back. Emily sat there stunned as the bus rolled on without him. She had no idea what to think. Relief, confusion, fear, it all twisted inside her chest. Eventually, she rang the bell and got off several stops later. The walk home was longer than usual, but she didn't care. She hurried through the rain, glancing over her shoulder more than once, until she reached her apartment building. Inside, she locked the door behind her and collapsed onto the couch. Her body still shook with adrenaline. She almost laughed at herself. Maybe he was just a lunatic. Maybe she had fallen for some bizarre prank. By midnight, she had nearly convinced herself it was nothing. She picked up her phone, scrolling aimlessly to distract her thoughts. That's when the news alert appeared. Her blood ran cold as she read the headline. Fatal stabbing at bus stop on Eastwood Avenue. Victim attacked while waiting alone. Suspect still at large. Residents urged to avoid the area after dark. Eastwood Avenue. Her stop. Emily's hands shook as the phone slipped from her grasp and landed on the couch cushion. She pressed her palm against her mouth, her chest heaving. If she had gotten off that bus like she always did, she would have been standing right there, alone, vulnerable. The man in the grey hoodie hadn't been trying to scare her. He had been trying to save her. She sat in silence, the hum of the refrigerator and the patter of rain outside filling the empty room. She realized then how fragile the line between life and death could be, how one small decision, one moment of hesitation, had spared her. She thought of his last words, soft but insistent, "If you value your life, stay on this bus." Emily would never forget that night, and she would never forget the stranger who saw what she couldn't.